All right, this is how to avoid lifestyle creep, which is when your income rises, your spending rises basically, and you keep up with the Joneses. My journey resisting the new car trap. So, one of the examples I have is I was gone for a year and I didn't have any car, and I was gonna reward myself with a nice car. I felt I deserved it. I really like cars. It's exciting. This was the next step. Then I sat down and recalculated the numbers, and I'm just like, okay, if I pay more for a car, it's gonna be higher for expenses, which is like maintenance. My insurance is gonna go up, my tabs is gonna go up, and I'm like, this car is actually gonna cost me a lot more than what the sticker price is. My reality check. Here's all the things that I thought about. Monthly gas cost was gonna go up. I mean, I could have got like a newer Prius, but I was gonna get like a 350Z, 20 years old, super cool, or a Mercedes. All of this stuff would have went up. So the total was staggering, and then I'm like, okay, this obviously isn't worth it. That's one example. My perspective is everything. So whatever you want to do, my global perspective is how I avoid it. Is that I live like a king compared to some. I live in a first world country. I'm in Minnesota, in America, and I compare it to living around the world, and I'm extremely grateful for it. So this simple practice keeps me grounded and saying, okay, whatever I do, whatever I'm doing to save money, none of this is bad because somebody else would die for this. I think life is just amazing overall, and the material stuff doesn't really matter. And even if it did, I'm living much better than a lot of people around the world. Then I think about what really matters. Material items, to me, don't really do anything, and they don't create lasting fulfillment. I get a nice jacket, I wear it for a while, I see another nice jacket, and then I want to get that. Or the same thing with a car. People don't want to downgrade their vehicle. Um, I don't know. I would much rather try to save that money to help people out later. It's my own personal philosophy right now. And so I wanted to help people and then also create unique experience with people I care about. Those are the things that actually are long-term fulfillment for me, not really material stuff. And then purpose over possessions. When I remember my deeper purpose, which is talked about in episode 0, I reference it a lot so I can stay true to it and I can stay accountable from everybody who watches. My spending decisions become more clear. It's not about deprivation, it's about alignment. So I don't have to feel deprived for saving money, or cutting, I don't, not really cutting corners, just saving a bunch of money because I know it's for something greater in the future. So it aligns with my goals. I don't have to think that I'm deprived in any sense. The hidden temptations of more money. So while I'm doing this and while I'm trying to save money, I also have a balance between how frugal I can be and then how much my income can grow or my opportunity to do income is higher. So once you start saying, okay, I value time over money, obviously there's a way. If I'm making $500 an hour, I don't want to really do anything for under $500 an hour. And Alex Hormozy talks about this. Couple people talk about this, but I don't have that money. So time saving stuff. When I say, okay, I'm gonna avoid paying for parking. It's $3 an hour. It's only gonna cost $6 today. And it's gonna save me half an hour. Obviously, my time is worth more than $12 an hour. Well, sometimes, but you can't do that really every day, especially if you start talking about investing. And I'm not working on something right now that's going to have that much of an income potential. Similar things could be hiring services to handle basic tasks, such as if you have a lawn, mowing your lawn, or laundry, cleaning, cooking. Alex Hormozy talks about this as well. I don't think that I'm in a position right now to do that because I don't make an exorbitant amount of money yet. He says $15 an hour, but I don't necessarily agree with that. So I still do all this stuff. Every once in a while, I'll pay for parking if it's like an extra dollar. And Dinkytown parking here is terrible, so sometimes you'd be driving for 30 minutes. So sometimes I do this. Sometimes I go to Chipotle to save some time if I'm in between meal preps. But this was all after I got over $250,000 for a net worth. So then I started to focus on time, I guess. Investing temptations. So if you have more cash, you're like, oh, the opportunity. You know, if I invest $100 and I get 100% return, I make $1,000. If I have $100,000 and I get 100% return, I get $100,000. And if you compare that to how much you make per year, you say, wow, what an opportunity. Well, it's a little bit riskier, and you can see the reward at the end. You know, it's 100,000. The way that I try to look at it is that I try not to be emotional about money, versus if it's $100 or $100,000. I've seen some YouTube videos on that, and it kind of stuck with me. I don't want the numerical amount to uh, cloud my judgment for a logical decision. Food and experiences. Once you get more money, this is lifestyle creep. You want more food, better food, or you want experiences of going out to like fancy mini golfing or speakeasies that are $20 drinks. I don't know. I don't really value those experiences myself. I value when I go on trips for work that I do unique things in unique places. That's what I like. Everybody has their own thing, no. So these are just two things that I do, but everybody's gonna have different, things that they like. One big one is the YOLO trap. You only live once. So if it's buying a motorcycle or going on this trip and stuff like that, life is short, but I still think you have plenty of time to do these you only live once experiences. Um, Especially in your 20s, I think that's well overtalked and overhyped up. Um, I think the reason why we're here is to work, create things, and to help people out. And you'll have plenty of opportunity for this. I don't think this should be your whole life goal of having YOLO trips. So, my simple rules to avoid spending. The biggest things that you can cut down on is transportation, rent, and food, not in that order, but I try to cut those down as much as possible so I can justify the unique experiences with friends or to help people out. Basically, just build that buffer um, against average spending so I can still stay under the mark. Because somebody I just met yesterday, they spent $1,400 a month on rent. Fancy place. I think the average one bedroom in Minneapolis about $1,200. Even if you split that at $600. So I spend $400 for everything for my apartment, my rent, utilities, all that stuff. It's all included. $400. So I basically have $200 if there's a couple getting a one bedroom Minneapolis. There's an extra buffer to stay ahead. So one thing I do is eat the same thing every day. I either eat deer meat or chicken and rice is 90% of what I've been eating for the last several years. I'm gonna start switching to $4 a pound for if I get 60 or 50 pounds or more at this one place called Restaurant Depot, just because I think it's a little bit better nutrition. But eat the same thing every day. Eat super cheap, is what it is. Enjoy friends for their company. Just hanging out. You don't have to do extravagant plans. Go golfing or go to an expensive pool bar, for example. As you can see from the videos again, that I just hang out with friends, watch a movie, play games. Just being around with friends. I really like board games. I really like cards. So I try leaving out those extracurricular activities. Questions before every upgrade. So before I buy anything, or if I'm renting or anything, renting, car, food, clothes, anything, I ask myself this question. Before buying it beyond the basics, I pause and ask, does this align with my goals? Which is, I guess, that's not really what I wanted to go for, but am I trying to fill a void with stuff of like some kind of meaning? And usually I'm pretty good with this. I mean, I have really solid money saving habits, I believe. But I try to think, okay, is this a need or a want? Am I buying this to impress somebody or to change my own, like, visual of what people think of me? And then does it align with the life goal, which is basically to save a bunch of money and try to change the course of abject poverty? And then usually all the answers to that is no, and I don't buy it. Staying grounded with income increases. Know your life goal. If you don't have one, try to come up with one. Doesn't matter what it is. If it's trying to help people, provide for a family, whatever you want to do. Everybody's got free will. Do whatever you want. I don't judge. This is my single most important factor to avoid lifestyle creep and clarity for what I'm working towards. Also, I hang out with people who are struggling. A lot of people have been homeless people in the past. Now, because it's winter, they're not around very much. But I don't know. Staying humble, I guess, is the most important part for me and what helps me avoid any lifestyle creep. Because once you look at somebody doing worse than you and they're happy, the material stuff doesn't really matter, if that makes sense. Mindset shifts. to prevent lifestyle creep. Audit what you have already. So if you have something that you don't wear very much, like I had a polo shirt, or I had a couple fancier items, I just got rid of those because I don't know, it's not any temptation. I would just wear all black shirts every day. Um, so I got rid of anything that would have material, I guess, or status. I got rid of all that stuff. I calculate the opportunity cost. So if you think about, like, okay, I'm gonna eat Chipotle, or I'm gonna have whatever $15 lunch. If you're working for $15 an hour, instead of bringing home 8 hours of pay, you bring home 7 hours of pay. Um, I guess thinking about how much time you actually spent to make that money to your purchases, that'll really help you out. Especially if you're getting a car that's $60,000, you might have $120,000 in the bank. You're just like, 60,000, nothing, even though that would still be a lot. But if you make $60,000 a year, you're spending an entire year on something to buy it, and then it's going to go down in value. Then you'd probably look and be like, oh man, I spent an entire year to save this money up. Not a good idea. Think about future impact. So not only calculate the opportunity cost of how much it took to get that thing, what if I bought something cheaper and then I invested the money, and how much would compound interest change that later on? I think Graham Stephan did something like $1 now in like 50 years, or in 40 years, somewhere around there. I think it was 50 years. Becomes like 50 or $48, around $50. So compound interest is huge, and especially is huge when you're younger. And embrace the hard times. Know that whatever difficulties that you have by saving money, or whatever people calling you weird and stuff, this is usually the most meaningful that I have. I think Andrew Tate talks about this quite a bit. Is that the times that you struggle, or the hardest times, are the ones that you value more later on. Looking successful or being successful. So which one do you want to be? Do you want to look like you have money, or do you want to actually have money? It's up to you to decide. Now, for some things, I'm wrestling with the question, looking professional and successful. Some things, first impressions matter. In sales, client meetings, white-collar environments, appearance matters huge, and can unlock a lot of doors. I think Graham Stephan talked about this when he bought a fancy vehicle, when he was selling houses, that the first impression mattered a bunch. Now, the same thing with Alex Hormozy. When you're first starting out, that's one. But then Alex Hormozy also had like a minivan, and he was making millions of dollars. And this lady brought it up. She's like, how are you going to teach me stuff when you're driving up in that? And he goes, well, you want to look at my bank account or something around there? First impressions matter when you're first starting out, but then later, after you have the reputation and you have other accomplishments that you can fall back on, then first impressions I don't think matter as much, because you have the stuff to back it up, even though it still could matter in some circumstances. Would you rather look or be it? I think you kind of understand this. Alex Hormozy, I guess I wrote a note in here, substance over style. I don't really know where I was going with that. I kind of forgot now because I made this a little bit ago. But context is everything in everyday life. Looking successful means nothing to me. I actually had a homeless guy ask me if I was homeless too. Most of my stuff's falling apart, but I like it. Then people look at me for actually who I am, and I like meeting new people and then seeing what their first impression is, because then nobody really wants anything from me, including the homeless fellas that I see. So, in specific situations, advantageous. I already talked about this. I can't draw a hard line between where you should follow or where I should even go. I don't really know. We'll hopefully figure that out later. The whole reason I do this is, one, work on communication and presentation skills, but then also I'll refine my not my goals. I'll reframe and refine my message so it becomes more articulate and distilled down. So if this seems like it's kind of all over the place, it is. And the whole purpose of this is to practice it so it's better later. The real cost of lifestyle creep. Let's see. I don't know where these numbers came. So, let's see. I don't even know where these numbers came. Gamma helps me make this just because it's really quick. Basically, financial freedom, whatever money that you spend on lifestyle creep could be invested and you can make a lot more money after that. Excuse me. So you sacrifice financial freedom, time wasted. I don't know. I don't really know the potential of this. So basically, whatever you spend, you can reinvest, and cool. Living with intention. So see what this says. The goal isn't to never stop or stop or la, la, la. The goal isn't to never spend money because you have to, and then also you have all these experiences because you do only live once. But the goal is to spend it on things that truly align with who you are and what you want to create in the world. So I use my life goal a lot to justify spending money and seeing if it's aligned. That's what I do. You can have your own method or whatever, but I avoid lifestyle creep through that, through reminding myself of that, and then also just looking at things big picture. You don't have to feel like deprivation and be like, oh, this is so hard and stuff. Once you come up with a life goal that's actually meaningful for you, and if it's towards, money solves a lot of problems. Not all the problems, but a lot of problems. So if you're really passionate about something, I don't know. I think the best way to do it is to make a whole bunch of money and just throw money at it rather than spend my whole life protesting and try to create awareness. That's at least my personal philosophy on that. So, in order to do that, I need to get a bunch of money. So, here's a call to action. Start today. Audit one area of your spending. Go through your whole bank statement, see what's good, see what's bad. Ask if it's helping you move closer to your real life goals or just filling space and meeting in your life, which you can get through action. That simple question can change everything. Hopefully that was clearer than what I perceived it to be. It'll get better, later on as I refine this. But thanks for listening if you did, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.